We've only got 9 on the total board, don't we? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that's
You have the agendas?
Are you the chairperson?
I'm gonna chair this with Rich Stoner. Why did you come by and ask me if I was still alive last week?
Yes, you didn't look good.
Oh, is that what it was? Okay, the chair is not gonna be here. He's asked me to chair this meeting. The chair will call the Court Services Advisory Board meeting into session. Initially, roll call. Kelly Basie for the District Attorney's Office, Butch Freeman's here, Commissioner Mons here, Court Clerk Rick Warren's here, and Bob Rabbits is here, which amounts to a quorum. First item of business is discussion and possible action regarding the minutes of December 1st, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion on that? Do you have that? For on the court services one? Grant, where?
Do you want to see the minutes?
No. Okay.
They're all
Oh,
good.
they're there.
It's already been approved in second.
Any further discussion on the matter? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding the election of the chairman and a vice chairman for 2023.
You willing to serve?
I'm sorry.
You willing to serve?
Sure.
I move that Bob Rabbits be the chairman.
Second.
Judge Stoner can be the vice chairman.
I was gonna suggest
No,
you.
let's don't suggest.
He's term limited out already. Any other nominations?
Is that for both chair and vice chair in the motion then? Okay, so moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Who is the vice?
Stoner,
Okay.
Judge Stoner.
wanted to make sure you caught
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Discussion and possible action regarding the Oklahoma County Court Services Bureau monthly statistics report for November and December.
Good afternoon.
I don't have, are you just gonna put
I
it
think
up?
I would
Oh,
imagine.
We've got this new deal where we're trying to save paper. Very good idea.
it. Yeah,
Yeah.
Should
we
I
just have to
this?
shred it later.
Go ahead and go. over.
Okay, so November, as you guys are looking at that, I'll go over a few points like usual. Let's see, without conditions, 51 were qualified with 46 approved, 334 supervised for the month. With conditions, 49 presented to the judges with 40 approved and 232 supervised. And the one category we did add from last month, there were 4 individuals who received violation reports and a warrant was issued for November.
Okay, so we currently are supervising.
About-
In November, we were supervising 566 people. Okay.
About, yeah, at the end of the month, yeah. And it varies, it depends on who's coming and going, but anywhere between
Yeah,
that.
yeah, on any, right.
Yeah,
But the
so-
snapshot would say that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. And so,
Sort of off the subject, but Art, what's your involvement with the OR bond?
that is us.
Okay, I understand it. So what do you do?
So we always had it on this agenda, and this department was always called OR and conditional bond.
Mhm.
But there was great confusion in OSCN with when data was inputted, it was all lumped together. So whether it was a bench OR, a medical OR, different types, there was confusion on who was whose and whose was what. So we decided in here that it would be called a pretrial release. And so they should be putting that in OSCN.
Okay. So everything on here.
So
then-
when you see, pretrial release without conditions, in essence, that's our OR.
Okay.
And then pretrial release with conditions would be our conditional bond.
Do we OR people out on weekends?
Yeah.
How do we do it?
We have a weekend person and they do essentially what we would normally do during the week. They send that information, the release paperwork to a judge. They review it on the weekends and then they send that to the jail, advise them for release.
Okay, so a judge, even on the weekend, is available to address an OR bond.
Yes, and a lot of it depends on what happens on the weekends. There's times where we can't interview them, different things that do happen, but yes.
So there are times when court services can't interview.
Right, with the jail.
And why would that be?
Could be
Staffing
staffing,
level at the jail.
usually issues.
That's
Yeah.
the majority of them.
But it's way better than it used to be.
Yeah.
We added this position a couple of years ago, and first Judge Strong tried to go down there, actually
I recall that well.
physically go down there, and then we've got
Right.
it modified to where that's no longer necessary most of the time.
It still depends on which judge gets it. As a practical matter, it's harder to get somebody out on a weekend. Especially, they rotate special judges a lot of times, and some of them have no experience. If obviously they can get a hold of one of the criminal judges, you have a lot better chance of getting it.
It's hard to get them out on the weekend if their fines are paid.
Or what?
Even if their fines are paid, it's hard to get them out.
Just because of the judge?
Just because of the time it takes. I've had people call and tell me that they got there on Friday at 7, 8 o'clock in the evening and Saturday at 11 at night before they got the person.
Well, I think that's in part too, if they have a hold on them, right, from another jurisdiction.
Well, it's just that sometimes at
Well,
night.
yeah.
That part,
And the problem is we can't call on the holds till Monday morning.
right, that's gonna say almost virtually never can we get hold of the other jurisdictions on the weekends.
That would be a reason to not let anyone out on the weekend.
And so you understand there are a lot of cost warrants, not Rick's cost warrants, because they're automatic
They're right
warrants. But if there's a cost warrant out of Cleveland County, that person's in jail unless they pay off the cost warrant. And they call Monday morning, Cleveland County says, we don't want them, and whatever, we're not gonna come get them, but that still is an
They
issue.
sit there and wait. And it's a cost to the trust, the jail. It's a cost to the county. It's also a detriment to our liability.
It's a big time back on the liability
Yes.
if we end up with someone who is critically ill.
And they could have got out on Friday, their fines are all paid, everything was done here, but we're not getting. like
And
Ron-
so if they don't go out, what happens?
They sit there in the jail.
And so they sit there in the jail but then they get taken to a hospital
Then we pay
Maybe.
for it,
and then we pay for it.
Everything.
right, or
But
worse,
if they were OR'd,
And their Medicaid would pay.
then Medicaid would pay for it.
But
So
I
you
think
see the problem and you see the point I'm going with?
I'll point at her, cause it'll be her office that helps on deciding on the, medical ORs.
Oh, you
we're trying to work on some new stuff. I've talked to the new district attorney about it already. And one of the big problems with medical ORs, so everybody understands that. I mean, whether it's grant or whatever. If they're going to the hospital, there's no issue, in my opinion, because once they're in that hospital, if they're discharged, there has to be a social worker come up with a discharge plan. They can't just dump them back out on the streets. But if they're OR'd medically without any type of plan, and they're not in the hospital, then they're gonna be out in the streets, we don't know what's gonna happen to the person.
Okay,
The ideal thing would be to have somebody in the jail, a social worker, sit there and say, DA, judge, Trong, judge, whoever, this person will be living with their mother at such and such a location.
Bob, with all due respect, that's not at all my question. What I'm trying to get to is we're picking up, and the commissioner said it beautifully, we're picking up some high dollar costs
Absolutely.
that could and should have gone to Medicare.
Yes.
I totally agree.
Medicaid for sure.
Medicaid for sure. And to me, and it goes back to OR, my understanding is that there's a way that we can do that. But if we end up going through and they're booked in and we send them to the hospital, then we're picking up the coin, and it's a bunch of coins.
I'm not trying to throw her in the hot seat, but I think the state has to agree to that, though, has been my understanding.
That's
And so it's not that we don't agree with you, it's just in the past, it's been, sometimes not the DA's position
I can find out if there's a bottleneck in my office and where that would be, if we're, are we not available or we're not agreeing to it?
I think as a policy, Mr. Prater, I'm not trying to throw him in the bus not being here, but I think my understanding was that he was denying.
He
several-
denied him on every case the last 6 months.
in particular here lately.
For medical ORs?
Yes, no matter what. But the judges, some of the judges would still medically OR him despite the DA's objection. Most of the judges would not.
But
But
to
you're
get it
absolutely
in terms of a plea where both sides waive or whatever, he wasn't.
And I met yesterday with the new jail, the person's gonna be.
And I met the day before.
And with them, and they have a plan, they're gonna go to judge, I suggested they get Ms. Troxel and set a meeting with Judge Andrews, Judge Ogden, and go and work it out, and then they could give the orders to their judges as to where they stand on it all, and give it to the DA, and I understand
And I-
it's very susceptible to.
And I think that's a great, great plan. We
And I
are picking
suggested
up a
to-
lot of expenses that legitimately could have and probably should have been the expense of Medicaid or Medicare.
no
And
question.
it's coming back to us. So,
It may also, especially when those limited specific cases, I know it's only a finite number of them, but
Right, I
there's
agree.
been at least a couple that might have been avoidable. They probably were going to die anyway, but they died in our facility as opposed to being out, and those were the really frustrating cases.
precisely. And I agree, there's a limited number, but it's that, hopefully, and I hope and pray it stays that way. But it still is there, and that's the ones that, that's picking up the deaths, and, it's a brutal way to say it, but that's,
Well, I can tell you that now with my new boss, I'm happy to bring that to her attention after she quits drinking from the fire hydrant.
oh, I thought you were gonna say after she quit drinking.
No, that wasn't it. But after, when she has a minute, and this is really important, so I'll bring it in
Please.
front of her and let her have a look, and I'll explain what your concerns are.
Okay,
Well, I mean, the key is getting the players in, and I've suggested Judge Andrews too, that as soon as the district attorney, to get everybody in the room and let's hammer this out on how we're gonna do it to save the county money. It clearly makes no sense to do the way we're doing it.
and I'm not interested in trying, and this is not an effort on my part, or even a suggestion on my part, to try to put it back on to the prisoner. That's not at all what that's not at all my purpose. I just think that that is a legitimate Medicare, Medicaid
And
expenditure.
if they can be owed on based on conditions, then we should all want to get them out of jail.
So the
Get
only,
rid of
the
that
only thing I'll add
responsibility.
on that is, as far as medical ORs are concerned, medical status with anybody in custody has no bearing on us. We don't look and know, for medical reasons, we won't look at you. It means nothing. I mean, it means zero. So if they qualify, or if they don't, if it's an exclusionary charge, whatever it is, those people are worked up and delivered to the judges. So in many instances, we've seen some of the medical ORs, and we've offered up many times, hey, if it is a exclusionary charge or it's a person with a severe criminal history and you want to release them and send them to us for supervision, obviously we do that as it is now. So that's an option as well to consider.
Could we use the GPS monitoring on somebody who's in the hospital and just stick the GPS on them?
If the judge,
Judge orders
if the
it,
judge
you don't
releases
Judge
them,
orders it?
if the judge releases them to us on a pretrial
Well,
release and
that
orders
costs us a lot
GPS.
less money than
Not
that.
if they're OR, only if they're pre-trial release though.
Right, true, unless they need certain imaging that, if they're in the hospital and they have to cut it off,
Okay,
which happens, but no, we've offered that up and we'd be willing to do that, for sure. But no, medical status has no bearing on what we did.
let's definitely do a report, a discussion again on it next, and hopefully we'll have the answers for everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, December. So as you're looking at those, I'll go over a few numbers. So December, without conditions, 27 qualified with 25 approved, 325 supervised. With conditions, 45 presented to judges with 34 approved and 230 supervised. And the one category, as far as the violations are concerned, there was one that resulted in a warrant for the month.
Flip?
Yeah.
And I will say, and I'll, since I have an opportunity, I'll brag about our people and our case managers. When you see the low number like that, one person with violation that resulted in a warrant, I'm telling you, our case managers go way above and beyond, and they're in contact with them nonstop. They're helping them do what they need to do, and they do a really, really, really good job staying in contact with these folks.
They must, because to get to one, that's
Yeah.
quite a feat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's a good job.
Absolutely.
Any other questions?
Did that one, once he was finally caught, did he sustain any injuries? Never mind.
We'll get the medical one going.
Put you on my
I don't know.
There has to be one.
Okay, and the next item is the November, December judicial.
Yep, this is just a breakdown from the stats you just looked at, and this is for conditional bond, so it's the same numbers you saw from the previous report, so 49 total delivered with 40 approved. And when you go to December, you'll see the same thing with the numbers from the previous.
Would you do one thing, Grant? There's been a switch in preliminary hearing judges, and we basically have,
Yeah, there's some changes.
okay, and I think it'd be real helpful if you went down and personally talked to the judge, explained to him, like Judge Glidewell has never practiced in Oklahoma County. He was a city judge and was a great prosecutor in a rural area for him.
Absolutely.
If he understood the program, I think it'd be very helpful. And as opposed to your worker just going and asking them, I think the same thing probably.
There's a few, yeah. We'll go make personal contact with all those judges.
Okay, great. Yeah, Hudson knows, but
Williams is.
yeah, so that wouldn't be a bad idea.
And then same here for December, 45 with 34 that were approved.
Great. Anybody have any questions with regards to that? Last item is discussion possible action to receive a presentation regarding the collaboration between court services and social services.
So we discussed this a little bit last month, and so we got a hold of Christy with social services. We talked for a bit to bring her in and give you a little breakdown on what we do. And just as a quick reminder, this started with our contacts with the 3 districts. As everybody knows, there's more people with needs than services are out there. So the more services there are, the better for the tremendous amount of needs that exist. And so it was a pretty easy decision for social services and court services to work together because we have the numbers, you see how many we supervise. So we have them there, we have them in the office at many times. And so Christie's folks, we have office space for them. They came over, they're there. So as we're talking to our clients, whether it's an intake or just having a case management meeting, we'll take them over to Christie's folks and they're the experts. They go from there and they help them with any needs that they may be asking for. And a lot of times some people don't even know they have needs until you actually have some conversations and they realize, oh my gosh, yeah, I could really use this, this, and this. So that's what's going on now. And just for the few months we've been doing it, it's been a tremendous success. We have the people in the office, they're in the office. We can walk them right in there and get them whatever help or at least refer them to whatever help that there may be. So we're hoping this is a long-term thing and a permanent thing. And so far it's been great, but I'll shut up and quit talking because the expert's here to fill you in on what they do.
And this will be brief, but to start, what makes this work from our end is that these are 2 staff people who, through the course of COVID, we were able to adapt their processes to being able to work remotely. So these are 2 people who are still doing their normal everyday job that they do, but they can do it, doesn't matter where they are. So we can just position them. We're there 3 days a week and we rotate 2 staff people so that nobody's taking too much of it on themselves. And they're just there and they're available doing the regular work in the meantime. But if Grant has somebody who needs something, needs some help, needs to talk through things, we're right there and can do that with them. So it's gone well. It's been really interesting. I wanted to pass this around. The first page is just a flyer that we have out there, not intended to be all inclusive, but just intended to help get someone's attention to let them know that we're there, and a few of the kinds of just some ideas to trigger them to think, oh, I wanted to ask about that. And then the second page, there are specific things that we keep, that we track on a regular basis. And so that we always have the ability to know, here's what we're seeing as the greatest need right now, here's what the most of them are asking for. So that first group, that's things that we track all the time. The second list are things that, while people are in there, this also comes up in discussion, so as we're able to help with those things, we do that as well. But there probably won't be a lot of surprises for any of you in terms of the percentages. Certainly housing was not a surprise to be at the top. And as I think everyone knows, so much of the problem right now with housing is, even if you're approved for housing assistance, there's no housing stock. So we've got people, all day long who have vouchers that have been approved, but there's nobody to go to with their vouchers, so their vouchers are constantly expiring and having to get renewed, so it's just an ongoing issue. But housing is, I was not surprised to see as one of the greatest needs that we see.
I would have thought utilities would have been larger.
I would have too, that was one of the
Especially
things
the
I was
winter.
surprised to see.
Cold.
Mhm. Yeah. Mental health being the second was not surprising to us at
Are
all.
you able to refer these people to mental health entities?
Yes.
So you can send them to Red Rock or North Carolina?
Correct.
Okay.
And some of them have, some of these cases, surprised any of you, are so complex that we've had a couple that have come from one of those facilities and they have worn out their welcome, and they're not taking them anymore. So then they really get frantic and desperate, and then it just snowballs. So we spend a little extra time with those people trying to get a better sense of what all is involved here and try to get them someplace else where they can get some help. But
Do you refer any of the mental health people over to the diversion hub?
it's very, very case specific, but yeah, we've referred over there as well.
Anybody else have any questions? Thank you very much.
The only thing I will add on that is because it's new and we're still working together, we're adding, changing, doing whatever it is that we can to make things better. So if you guys have any suggestions for us that'll help our people,
Absolutely.
just call us, email us, or whatever.
I think it'd be a good idea to keep this on the agenda and you do a presentation, just kind of keep us updated on this.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Do I need to get a copy of this to the clerk's office?
Yeah, just might as well. Okay, citizen participation, any citizens wishing to participate? Board comments? Anybody, any of the board have any comments? New business? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I want to bring up just an issue just real quick, and that's on our agenda. Why do we have a vice chairman
Why do we have a vice chairman?
to preside in the event that the chairman is not there?
Probably
That's
should have.
technically, that should have been written,
Okay.
and it doesn't matter, and I don't care, but
Who's the vice
anyway,
chair?
it's on the front of your agenda.
Okay. Did you know you were the
I
vice
didn't
chair?
know.
Seeing you were trying to
Stoner
squirm out
sent me
of
an
it.
I'm sorry.
See, I knew he was doing that.
But I got elected chairman now, so.
Yeah, but you know what, no, the judge is your vice, so. I don't think the chair
And
gets
that
to
was
call
smart.
and say.
I think he did that to you last year.
You did.
Okay. The chair will call, which one's the mental health court?
This is
The
it.
chair will call the mental health, court board in session. Notice the meeting was probably posted January 10th. First item of business is discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of December 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding the election of chairman and vice chairman for 2023.
Yeah, but
You want to serve again?
Well, yes, since my secretary does all the inputting on it, it's probably a good
I
idea.
nominate
You as the chair.
Do you have a vice chairman recommendation?
which,
no, you don't need, I've gone through this too many years.
Judge,
Do you want to be the vice chair?
Sure.
Yeah,
I am gonna regret that, aren't I, guys?
Yeah.
Alright.
Oh,
if we have one more, we'll make you chair.
yeah.
If we have another, you be chair.
No, that's all, so I'm good.
Okay, any other nominations? All those in favor of the slate say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion
Rick Morty
carries
seconded.
unanimously.
I thought he moved it. Who
I'll
seconded?
move it.
Moved it, I seconded it. Brian moved it, I seconded
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding the report of the mental health court. I don't know why it's got my name, the discussion and possible action. I'm gonna
You're on number
regarding the
3.
report on current AWOL and discussion and possible action regarding the report, and Jenny will do both of them.
it. Good job.
Thank you. So AWOL, I know last month you guys wanted me to do 2019, 2020, 2021, and tell you how many have been AWOL in those years. We had 5 in 2019 that have not been picked up. We have 3 in 2020 that have not been picked up. And we have 7 in 2021 that have not been picked up, and 44 in 2022. So.
Just out of curiosity, why is 2022 so high?
I'm not sure. We have, sometimes we have a lot of them who plead in and we start the whole process and then they go AWOL. And so that could be,
Yeah, but none of them have been picked up, which is a
Right.
sign that they aren't committing any crimes,
How they left town.
or they left town.
yes.
Or they left town.
How we get most people picked up when I'm out looking for you, same with cost, is they drive, they get pulled over, if they get on a fight in the street or some kind of, that's when they get picked up. So if they're not getting in any trouble. then
Or if
they'll
they
get picked
have
up.
a mental health crisis at the hospital, they have a bench warrant, then they'll get
In
picked
with
up.
bench warrant, we don't
Sometimes,
find them
yeah.
unless,
So these are ones that went
Sure.
AWOL and have not been picked up.
That is correct. Sorry, I had to write it on there because the department
That's
won't let me edit this form, so.
so there's a different number for who went AWOL and then did get picked up. But we don't have that.
I don't have
We
that,
don't need
no.
that today.
No, I don't have that at all. I don't keep up with that. I just add them back into our count.
Yeah.
We only,
Okay, as soon as they get picked up,
they're,
you add them back into our account.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So when they're AWOL or they're in 6 months DOC or they're in DOC for another county, they're taken out of our count because we can't bill for them. But when they get picked up and they go back in custody in Oklahoma County or Cleveland County, McLean County, wherever, I can add them back into our count and we can receive money on them because they're in custody, not AWOL or DOC.
Oh, so these are all that have been picked up. So the 44 might be that they swept and picked up people who had been AWOL years before, right?
No, that is how many have,
This is the year they got picked up, right?
Yeah,
So-
not the year the AWOL started.
no. When the AWOL, we have 90 from the time that we started our program. So we've gone down. So the 44 are the amount who went AWOL in 2022 and have not been picked up yet.
Oh, this-
Not.
Okay.
Yes, have not.
Okay, got it.
So we still have them on our AWOL list, unfortunately.
With regards to, can you explain the number enrolled, which is 417, and the number actively tested with
Sure.
CRG?
So 417 is how many we have pled into mental health court. That's total. That's AWOL, that's in DOC, that's in treatment, that's active. That's how many we have enrolled in CRG testing, but we only have 295 that are testing, a roundabout testing.
Like actively participating.
Yes, actively participating. Now, you will have to subtract, the ones that are currently now in custody or an inpatient, because those aren't tested.
Okay, so if there is a mental health person inpatient, that's not included
No.
in the 295.
No.
If it was a mental health person that's doing that goofy 6-month deal and
That's not calculated.
that's, and if the person is in the county jail after having been arrested,
That's
that
not,
person isn't counted.
that is correct. They're counted when they're tested, like they're actively participating.
Okay, so absent testing for, absent drug testing, anybody who's drug testing is considered active in the program.
Correct. So
Is that
you
how
can
we
take the
Is that how we get paid?
active count is how we get paid. They
Okay,
have to be active. So if they're in DOC, we don't get paid for those.
I understand,
Okay,
but what about if they're sitting in the county
we
jail?
get paid for those.
We do,
Yes.
so that active number would be different than the number here, right?
That number there, the 295, we would have to subtract the amount who are in custody, which is the 51, the 18 that are in, I'm sorry, I didn't break it down good enough for y'all, so I'll make a change on that. The 18 who are inpatient, and then of course, the 14 who are in DOC.
So what you're telling me right now, there are 51 people in the county jail who were pled in, that were paying, whatever you guys charge a day, it's costing us as taxpayers to sit in the county jail waiting for whatever's gonna happen in mental health court.
Some of them there is a high percentage that have new cases. So yes, and we're waiting on the case that they picked up to be taken care of so we can all roll it into one case. I'm sorry, maybe I'm not.
Does the DA who's handling the mental health court docket have the ability to roll that person into the program right away?
If, yes, the discretion.
Yeah,
yeah. If the judge will let him, but we can offer, like, we can say that we would accept that new case into the program and then.
Shouldn't there be a mechanism where we can make a decision as quickly as possible on that so that we don't have, I mean, that number is utterly crazy, that 51 people, because that means their cases aren't progressing if they're not getting into mental health court. So we're keeping them for an extended period of time.
I don't know if it's an extended period of time, I just know 51 people are in there, but we don't know how long they've been in there, right?
Right. But I'm concerned that it had been an extent. I mean, all I'm saying is, if we had a period of time that your office could decide X, Y, or Z, I'm gonna agree to let this person in, maybe I want them to sit in jail for 30 days. I don't have a problem with that, but make that decision. If the decision's no, make sure they move through the process as quick as possible.
Do you think that's if there's a
think-
bottleneck there at that 51?
I think we are waiting for the new case we're waiting for that new case for them to go forward with that.
Mhm.
And then once they've gone forward with that, then they're rolling in the mental health court case with that. So I think, yes, I would say they're sitting in there waiting for that new case to be taken care
I
of.
imagine that some of those people are claiming that they're innocent, so they want to go on the regular docket and they're not.
Yes.
Are they able to bond out? Does the judge give them a bond on everything? They have a bond on
They
everything?
have a bond for us, of course.
A mental health court
Uh-huh.
bond
And then they have bond
on the new
on the
charge.
new.
These are people that couldn't bond out.
Some of them, yes. Or,
Do
yeah,
any of the, well, I wonder if any of those are no bond status.
that I don't,
Yeah.
I don't
That would be
know.
interesting. We can see. I'll look.
I'll let you know, because I'm gonna tell somebody that they're gonna check on that.
Okay.
Yes.
You understand? I
Jenny?
wanna know about the 51 people.
They have all had a bond set.
How many of them have new charges?
I thought it was. Seven.
So 44 of them do not have new charges.
This is the problem. It's a problem. And you know what the problem is, because we've talked about it.
Sheriff, what is the problem?
Jenny,
Yes, sir.
when we finally
judge
get around
doesn't
and we
wanna
finally
Do
decide
anything on the case.
how many we,
So nothing gets done.
when we finally decide how many we can, bill for,
Uh-huh.
how much do we get per day?
I don't know. I'll have to look into that. I don't know.
I'm sorry, how much we get for that?
Yeah.
Per day.
What are
per
we
day.
billing for? Who are we billing
We
and what are
don't
we
bill,
billing?
we can't bill anybody on mental health court. Everyone in the jail you're paying for is the county's paying for. We get a percentage of people who are active in the program. I think it's $2.19
A day,
a day if they're active in the program.
okay,
And they agreed to pay her salary and her assistant salary.
okay.
Department of Mental Health.
Are we making that enough to do it that way?
With these kind of numbers and putting this kind of numbers of people in the county jail, we're losing money left and right. That's crazy. That need to either be disposed of and kicked out of the program or put back in and put back with a mental health court provider.
Would that be in the purview of your office to do motions for them?
It would be in the purview of my office to file motions on every one of them, which I think is gonna happen in the next 2 weeks, because evidently I have to get involved in some of the discussions as opposed to some of my staff that have already been involved to make sure it happens. And if the judge doesn't like it, she can take it up with me.
And as far as the new cases go, that would be something that my office can work on.
Yeah, and it's just a decision, you know. And what we ought to do in a new case is if it's something where you think we could take them back, we ought to have the with care assess them right away and get the assessment to you guys.
Assessed or, I think they're already assessed, so it would
It has
just
to be
be for,
assessed on the new case.
they don't, that person doesn't need to be assessed, but we do need the police reports and we need
Okay.
to know what kind of,
Yeah.
you know, because the person's already been assessed a certain way.
Yeah.
As acceptable and
Right.
stuff for them. So it's really a question of the legal case.
Right.
We need to sit down, you and I, and
Let's
figure this out.
I like it. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
So helpful. This is good. Helps us.
If you need anything else, just let me know so I can ask department to let me have your.
I appreciate the eyeballs, that helps a lot too.
Of course.
Chair will entertain a motion to accept the reports.
Second.
Thanks for making that motion, Kelly, and thanks for seconding it. All those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding the use of necessary office space for drug court, mental health court, and veterans treatment court. I suspect that the county is gonna kick us off the 5th floor very soon, and the county is gonna allow us to move to Commissioner Calvi's offices.
Yes, and I actually scheduled Shine to assist in the moving with facilities the last week of January bleeding into the first week of February.
Right.
As they're ready for the prep, we're ready to come and assist in the moving.
So everybody knows what we're doing is we are gonna combine the offices into one big office. So there'll be a receptionist and an area to sit in and whatever. And then our people have it. And then ultimately, we're gonna drop the number of copiers, which will save us a little money. And then just do a number wise. In other words, number 1 would be drug court, number 2 would be mental health court. However we decide to do that, boy, it may take us till the end of the year to get that set up. But I appreciate the hard work of Commissioner Mon and all the commissioners in
Yes.
finally getting them into something that they
Thank you so much.
Well, it's been a long process. I appreciate everybody's patience. Appreciate the budget board giving us some money so that we can do that. I will also report, I don't know if this is really the right time, but I'll slide it in because Shine on February 6th commission agenda will move over to court services from my district. And so Grant will be running that and our employees will stay together as a unit. And they'll move over there, but he'll do the time and the vacation leave and stuff for them. And we're hoping that that's going to actually consolidate. You know, he's the director of court services, but that's also the director of community service. And so we get calls a lot of times about the paperwork and stuff that's actually handled over there. So I think it's going to be more expeditious for the participants because it's going to be the same number for everything. And I think they'll, and then the way it's going to be set up, because the difficult piece has been who's going to do the maintenance on it. And districts 1 and 3 tend to do it for facilities and emergency management and engineering. And so we've somehow gotten out of all that in District 2. So I think District 2 is going to stay doing the fleet mechanic stuff out of the District 2 barn. They're already familiar with the equipment, so they'll stay. They'll know the history of all the oil changes and all that stuff, so they'll stay on for that. So, progress.
Great.
And our
Okay.
thanks to the new Madam DA who blessed that transfer already in her first week in office. So.
That's fantastic. So, leave it one more time on the agenda and then it's gonna go away on the agenda. Next item is, discussion possible action regarding cloud implementation, the cloud-based software. We're still using that, is that correct?
Yes. We are still using that.
I skipped number 5, I'm sorry.
And
Discussion of possible action.
Four.
4 and 5. Well, 4 was her report. That needs to be changed. Report on the mental health court. She did 3 and 4, and we accepted 3 and 4. 5 is the mental health court budget report. You have all the budget data in there. We obviously use mainly the user fee account, and she needs to get the other one around it. The mental health court, about page 7 on your deal. The first is Munis. We initially transfer money every year into Munis to pay for office supplies, copier charges, and whatever. And that's the printout with the amount of money left in Munis. And the second is the mental health court fund, which is the amount of money we spend on other things, compliance resources, drug testing. The diversion hub is case management that this board agreed to, and then sooner or later we'll be buying some bus passes when we need them. And as you can see, the deposits come from the mental health court, from the Department of Mental Health. You see, that's what we get a year. Any questions regarding the budget? Chair will entertain a motion to accept it.
So move.
second,
Motion made second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Last item, discussion and possible action regarding contracting with Diversion Hub. You all approved that about 6 months ago. We've been contracting, and I take it they're doing a good job with you
Yes,
guys?
sir. You're doing a fantastic job.
Okay,
Helping
great.
out quite a bit.
And that individual is that person over in my office right now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because of space, that person's over in my office. We'll have to see if we have enough space afterwards. Any other discussion? Citizen participation? No citizen participation. Board comments, any board member have a comment? Last item is new business, any new business? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
so moved.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimous. Chair will call the meeting of the Drug Court Advisory Board into session. Notice was properly posted. First item is discussion of the 5 individuals who previously mentioned are here. The first item is discussion of possible action to approve the minutes of the December 1st meeting.
So moved.
Motion made, is there a second? And second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Discussion and possible action regarding the election of chairman and vice chairman for 2023.
Yeah, you want to be chair?
Yeah.
This is, yes, no,
not chair, I can vice chair. I just need to get the lay of the land a little bit first.
Okay. Well, it seems like you got it.
Any discussion, anybody else? Nobody else want to volunteer to run?
Bob and Kelly,
But-
chair and vice chair.
I'll do it, I'll do it, Bob, I'll be
Second.
chair, you guys.
Well, I think I've got to sign the paperwork and all that stuff.
Okay.
You got a motion and a second on the two of you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Discussion and possible action regarding creating a partnership with the Virgin Hub to hire a case manager for drug court. At the last meeting, this board approved it. I signed a contract. Do we have somebody in place yet?
He
Yes,
starts January 17th.
Okay, so January 17th, we will have the Diversion Hub individual, and it's the same contract for $50,000 that we did with it. And again, that saves us a lot of money because we don't have to pay benefits for Oklahoma County and retirement. That's what we'll go through. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding drug court statistical report. David?
Good afternoon, everyone.
Which one are you going to talk to us on? This one?
Yes, sir. Yes, Mr. Grant. This is the drug DUI court report, and this is mainly going to be for the year of 2022. We're just going to kind of summarize the year. But as of right now, we have 375 active participants in the program. That's a little bit lower than we usually have. One of the reasons for that is just the disease of addiction. It's very complex. It's biopsychosocial, and during this time of the year, where the holidays are around, people aren't connected to their family or community. You see a rapid increase in AWOL. You see an increase in substance use in our program. So that's why those numbers drop. The males serving the 6-month DOC sanction. These are participants that are inactive in our program. We have 11 right now. We have females serving 6-month DOC sanction at 3. Males at first step are 3, and females at first step are 1. Again, these are inactive participants that we're not getting funding for. Participants at residential facility, they are active unless this is not a state-funded facility. We have 5 males, 3 females. For the last 3 years, since January 1st, 2020, we have a total of 45 people AWOL. And again, probably about 5 to 7 of those people are just recently over the holidays. Graduation rate is at 81. It's a really fluid, dynamic number that goes anywhere from 80 to 83%. Number of graduates in 2022, we had 129. Revocations, we had 40 participants. And again, that's carried over from preceding years. That could be somebody coming back from an AWOL that's been gone for 2 or 3 years. Percent, and here's some numbers to kind of brag on our program, kind of show the quantitative value of why we do what we do. Percent unemployed when they started, 38.3. When they graduate, 1.2. The state grad rate is at 1.9, so we're beating that. Income from employment, they make almost $1,000 more a month after they graduate our program. Percent of participants without a high school diploma, so education is very crucial and important in our community. Entry, only 22.8. At grad, that is 4.5%. And just be aware that we do let people graduate this program with professional certifications from like Francis Tuttle if they're deemed not cognitively able to handle things like that. So the percent change is 80.5. Percent of children living with participants is a great number. Entry, only 8.3. At graduation, almost 90% of our participants have their children back. That's almost 1,000% increase.
The amount of money that the state of Oklahoma is saving on percentage of children living with participants is unbelievable. I mean, that what they're spending on the drug court doesn't even come within 1/10 of the savings that we're getting because of that. This is fantastic data, and this is done through this isn't you tweaking the data. This is the Department of Mental Health giving you the data. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It's a collaboration with the Department of Mental Health. Does a lot. They have this a platform for us to enter in all the data.
I think it's a tribute to everybody who's involved in the program. I appreciate that greatly.
And just going down to news updates, just kind of miscellaneous things that we wanted to talk about the program. I know Judge Stoner wanted to bring up our splitting into two separate tracks, DUI and drug court. And I was going to give the floor to Ms. Madison Malone.
Thanks, David. So I know Judge Stoner would have wanted to explain this, but since he's not here, I'll do my best and Kelly jump in as you see fit. The board approved a consultant from MPC Research, which was funded by the Arnall Family Foundation. They came and visited our program in May, and one of their top recommendations is that we needed to split drug and DUI court. The participants are not the same, and we've been treating them the same. None of us know when the programs merged, but it's been over 8 years ago that they combined. So Judge Stoner has gotten permission from Judge Andrews. The plan is for Judge Oaks to take over the DUI court docket. It was going to be Judge Hudson, and then things got moved around, so it's Judge Oaks who's now got misdemeanors. And the program structure will be the same, but they will be treated they're just different. They usually come in with more stability, employment, and education, and family support is a lot different than the drug court people, and we could really be making them worse by having them be with our really high-risk drug court people. So I think it will benefit both sets of people. The drug court people can get some more attention from our stretched team.
Any questions? Great. Anything that works out better, I think we'll move on. That makes a lot of sense.
Definitely our thanks to the Arnall Foundation.
For sure.
And Mr. Abbott, I did want to ask the board members, if there's any statistic that you guys would like to see from our program, please let me know, and I will get on that. Appreciate you.
Thanks.
Chair, I'll entertain a motion, I guess, to accept the report.
Second. Make a motion to accept.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding use of necessary office space for drug court and mental health court. I think Commissioner Mond adequately explained what the commissioner was going to do, and the budget board with their funding of the deal. Next item is discussion and possible action regarding future disposition of closed drug court files. David, you're gonna have to pick a day in March or April when it's a little warmer, but not too warm. You need to go over to Rick Warren's.
He did it
He
in
did?
October.
Oh, you did it in October?
Yes,
Did you get it all done?
They're yes and no. They're sitting on pallets right now, and then I went back over Mr. Warren to the clerk's office and said, how do we shred these files? And they said that was our responsibility to do that, and we had to pay for it. And that's where I'm kind of stuck right now.
This company that will come out and shred them, professional company will come and shred them.
Okay.
Contact them.
I have a friend named Commissioner Mond who might be able to help you with that.
Me too.
You have.
We had with court services, that's where we've gone to and shred them in court services now, because they have a giant shredder. So we just transport them over there unless there's something that,
Yeah, they're on file.
if that's a problem.
There is some issues
On the custody.
Custody. That would be an issue, so.
Oh, do the Shine people do the shredding?
Actually, we've just had our staff involved in it last time.
So if we had the staff involved, that would work. If it's not,
It's not our stuff.
It's really not up to the court, it's not our problem.
As long as he
No, I think
doesn't have a problem with it, we can kind of pick
It's
it out.
not my issue, so, yeah.
And then we just take it, it's county supervised, and we take it directly up there, and then we have county employees shredding it in the court services offices.
I think what the best way to handle it is arrange with court services to pick it up at Rick's place, or to have Rick's people and whatever, but I think you need to be there when they shred.
Yes, sir.
That way,
Mike's gonna take our place after the meeting.
We'll make you chair of the next board.
Thank you, buddy. That's why I got friends.
Okay, this was just a report, I will get back with you, we'll get it done, whatever, let's get it out of their place and let's get it, a deal set up with court services where one day they can do it.
And the reason you'd be there is because it's all confidential and you just wanna oversee the movement, make sure nothing gets lost on a truck or left on a pallet, and you'll just be kind of in charge of making sure the whole thing gets shredded.
Okay, great. Next item is discussion and action regarding, report on current AWOL participants. I think he's already given us that report. It's in the report, discussion and possible action regarding drug court budget report, which is, attached with the funding. Again, the money is put in munis for salaries, benefits, and for operational overhead every year. And then the rest of the money is utilized pursuant to a voucher account, which is, I believe, 1283. I'm sorry, 1281. And we also have a contribution account, which is attached, and the funding for that is attached. But the contribution account is 1283, and basically we're paying the MPC research. Are they done? NPC research?
Yes.
Are we gonna get any
No, they're
bills?
done. We have not spent all of the money we have, so we are still working with them. We extended the contract.
Oh,
Okay, because if we don't need them, we could ask Dawn Health Foundation to give us the transfer the money to some other deal, so you might wanna look at that. We don't need any, that's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody have any other questions on the budget report? Chair will entertain a motion to accept it.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Discussion and possible action regarding implementation of cloud-based software. David, we still working with the cloud-based software?
Yes, sir, we are. We
Working-
also, with that new-
Working out okay?
Yes, sir. We also are going to incorporate, implement an app called Reconnect, which is a case management and supervision act with that $30,000 we got from the pandemic response relief grant.
Is that a one-time, is that, once we do it one time, we don't have to pay anything else?
They're cutting us a really good deal because they were impressed by our program and our numbers, and so they actually want to kind of study us a little bit, and so they're allowing us to do it for, it's about $1,500 a month, and they're letting us do it for $4,000 a year to try it out.
And what will it be next year, do we know?
Next year, we don't know. That's where we're just seeing if it's even going to work for our program. We're not doing this for every single person in our program. We're doing it for a very select, small population, only 40 of the highest risk, highest need, to see how we can monitor and supervise them.
So,
I'm gonna tell you, we don't have $18,000 a year to spend on a program like that. So, I mean, if you wanna do it on a one-time deal to see if there's something we can do, there's no way in the world that drug court has that kind of money. And, I mean, we'd be taking it away from the ability to, drug test indigents, or alternatively, we'd be taking it away from the diversion hub individual that we hire. Cause we're going in the hole every year on the amount of money we're spending.
but we'll save so much money if we get a good case management system in the time that all of our coordinators have to spend. So we have 4 coordinators right now that spend about 20 hours per week per court. So there's vets court, DUI drug, and mental health court. And we need a good program, but I agree that might not be the right one because of the price. So a couple of questions would be, do they charge per person or do they have a set fee for the whole amount? And I guess you've researched it, you know, is that the,
It's a set fee based on a population of 500 participants.
Okay.
Yeah, you can use it up to 500 participants for $1,500.
I thought that,
a month? Oh,
I thought the Department of Mental Health had a program that you can use that would utilize case management and wouldn't cost us any money. Is that not the case?
There is the Chess app, but we have some of our treatment providers, sir, that are really uncomfortable with it because it doesn't meet, I think it's 42 CFR, which is kind of like HIPAA on steroids. I mean, it takes HIPAA to a whole different level.
I think that's what we heard back from our treatment providers.
Why don't we
What
set
about
up another
Connexus?
meeting with Department of Mental Health?
Okay,
I mean,
Yeah.
they ought to come up with a program statewide, so they
Yeah.
cost us any money.
right. And last we talked about Connexus doing it last meeting. Did we just rule out that Connexus doesn't have the case management software we need?
It's just, I mean, the reconnect was so great about it, it goes right on with the participant's phone. And so it's just it's a direct bridge to
Oh,
the
nice.
participant. The Connexus app doesn't really have that. And also, just from our case managers, from the providers, they don't really think it's user friendly, and also too, just not really, you can't use it in court very well.
Okay.
The way the platform is set
I
up.
understand
Yeah.
why we need to be able to use it on the fly and staffing so that we can get staffing efficient and get it done quickly and everyone's shaking their heads.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think what we need to do is, we'll go ahead and spend the money this year, see what happens, and then I think you need to keep this item on and let's discuss it further, okay?
Maybe look for a grant source.
I'm sorry,
Maybe look for a grant source.
yeah, or tell the Department of Mental Health and give us $18,000 per year for that
But they
program.
need to come up with a program. The Department of Mental Health.
Do you what?
I like
The Department of
that
Mental
approach.
Health. can come up with-
Absolutely.
Yeah. Statewide is a good idea. They can get a better deal statewide, you know, with the program.
I thought they had one at one time, they had really good. Okay, sure, any citizen participation? Board comments? Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Last meeting is, the chair will call the meeting of the Veterans, Treatment Court Advisory Board in session. Notice was,
We still got the same time in this year.
still got the same five, with Mike Sullivan replacing Rick Warren, as Mike Sullivan, Chief Deputy, replacing Rick Warren. First item is, discussion and possible action regarding minutes of December 1st.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Next item is discussion and possible action regarding election and chairman and vice chairman for 2023.
I think you guys are on a roll.
Sure, why not?
Okay. Yes,
I
definitely. We
moved.
were gonna.
Rob was chair, Cal was vice chair.
I thought we were nominating Rick Warren in his absence.
He is.
I
threatened to filibuster if that happened.
Okay.
So we'll be here all night. Okay.
Okay, never mind.
Second.
I'll second, yes, absolutely.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries unanimously. Discussion regarding program status report from coordinator. Kyle.
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's see, from our previous report, we have added one veteran to our program. We've graduated 2. We have 45 that are active in our program currently. The remainder of those, 2 are in custody waiting a decision on revocation from the program. 1 is in residential treatment, 1 serving a 6-month DOC sanction, and 1 is in custody at the Oklahoma County Jail pending new charges. We currently have 1 participant AWOL. And like I said, we have 23 graduates total from our program so far. Mr. Rabbits, the letter that you had requested from the previous meeting is in your inbox. And
I liked your letter. I think it's a great idea regarding additional funding from the Department of Mental Health once the program comes to an end.
on that topic, we have started the process of writing our grant, our enhancement grant. We've gathered the information and we're still collecting data so we can get it buttoned up. The submission for that is in May, I believe, and the actual funding expires in September for our current grant.
I want to see, as chairman, and I think the whole board needs to see it, our request for the grant before we send it off. It can be a rough draft or whatever.
Absolutely.
So everybody knows, I told Judge Stoner and Cat Burton that we were gonna have problems meeting the numbers that we committed to regarding the Veterans Court. I do not know, we committed to having 75 people in that program. We committed to the federal government having 75 people in that program. I told her that we were never gonna be able to do it, and we should use the money as an offshoot of drug court with a separate deal for veterans, which could have been done. I do not know if the federal government or the Department of Mental Health is gonna come after us for the money. I doubt they will, but I just want everybody to be advised that.
How much money is at stake? How much can they come after us for?
$40,000 or $50,000.
It was my understanding that there's gonna be some leniency applied to grants that, were active during COVID. So, I just,
And it's possible because of that. The problem is, and it may be that as long as we end up having served 75 people at one time, we'll probably be okay.
At one time, is there some way that we can get it up to 75 that you know of?
Yeah.
Is there, I mean, we can talk about that.
I mean, we're talking about admission criteria more or less.
Okay, gotcha.
Well, isn't the admission criteria determined by the district attorney's office?
Well, in conjunction with a grant, but we have, with our new boss, we might have some openings and I can think of a couple, and I'm sure you can too, of veterans with guns. We haven't historically let them in, but right now we have an active duty guy who applied at David Prater's last month. He was arrested because he was driving.
So he had made the decision to commit suicide that
That's
evening.
right.
And
Yeah.
he had took a shotgun with him in his vehicle, and he was drinking heavily prior to. And on his way, he didn't want to disturb anyone. He just wanted to go out to the woods and didn't want to be a problem to his family or his loved ones. And he was going to go commit suicide. Well, he clipped some mailboxes on his way out, and thank
Kept
God that the police
And the
found him.
neighbor called in and got his license tag, like
Right.
it's, yeah,
Right.
I'm just filling.
Yeah, no,
Okay, go
you're
ahead.
good, you're good. So, thank God they pulled him over, but as part of his case, he was in possession of a firearm, which would have disqualified him from admission into our program.
But one of the last things Prater did, thanks to Kyle writing interviewed him and wrote a great letter about him, and Mr. Prater allowed him in, so we're maybe opening to more people like that who are veterans with firearms.
Okay, let's really seriously look at it, because if we did make a commitment, that'd be nice.
The 75, when do we get, or how do we adjust that number? That we can.
I think if we showed them that at the tail end of the program, we had 75 people, and X number graduated a couple months before, I think it just says 75 people that will service 75 people a year, I think is what it said.
75 a
We
year, 2
definitely
years
serve
total.
75 a year, in and out. Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely we reach that number.
Well, I think it went, now, if they're in and then they come out, that's one.
Right.
They have to be in other words, you would need it. In other words, you can't double count the person.
Gotcha.
I just wanted to let everybody know that I don't think they'll come after us, because I talked to the department about it when I saw what was going on. But it's just something we need to be careful about when we make commitments in grants, and that's when I want to make sure that the numbers are gonna be realistic, because it's easy to say we can do it, and then if we don't do it, that could be a real problem.
But whatever we tell them we're gonna do, that's what they fund us for.
Looks right.
Now, on this one, they just gave us the money.
Easy for me to say since it didn't have anything to do with me, but I'd rather us try to strive to actually do it than to ask them for leniency. If there's any way amongst our
Yeah, I agree with that.
existing,
I totally agree with you.
I mean, I'm sure there's enough qualify out there.
is any kind of assisting, I realize it's your office that I guess makes the call, but is there other organizations that assist veterans along, like Gary Bands and the stuff that he does, that could help us be identifying and rounding out or maybe pointing out would that be helpful to your office if there's organizations already working with troubled vets or?
If they have criminal charges, yes.
Are you getting the report from the county
Christie's
jail?
gone, but
that
like
on
we had
anybody
this
who's married?
outreach with homeless through social services, just
RBJ
even in our
knows.
division, and
She's the one
sometimes we
that's
identify they're veterans, but they're afraid of being arrested, and so they're trying to help get them off the street. Well, one reason they're in the woods is because they know there's a warrant out for their arrest. That just come to my mind.
So like a smoother transition of them being willing to present themselves on the warrant, knowing that they're gonna be looked at for a veterans program.
Or if this was just an option, I don't know if it fits or not. That's your wheelhouse, not mine, but.
Yeah, but good communication would work.
Because
Kyle and I are the two that work on that for the DA's office, so we'd be happy to have an open line of communication from
Because I
anyone
know
who
that they
has.
go out and do that homeless census every year, and we participate in that. So I'll see if I can get some people plugged in.
Great, and we can exchange cell numbers, and then I don't mind anyone having it that you're speaking of, so.
Number 4 is discussion and possible action regarding, is there any other questions on the status report? Thanks, Kyle. Number 4 is discussion and possible action regarding creating an account or sub-accounts. We do have an account, it's at the last page. It shows what we spent the money on. Again, the grant allowed for travel reimbursement for the national, in fact, it required us to send people to the national convention. So that's whatever, some of the money that's being deposited is user fee accounts. And the money is going for Kyle's salary and a part-time DA and a part-time public defender, in this. And then we bought bus passes with this, and then we're doing some drug testing for indigent vets. Chair, I'll entertain a motion to accept the budget report 6045.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion. Citizen participation, board comments.
I just want to say a special shout out to Sharon for keeping us all on track. This is very difficult to merge 4 boards together at the same time. That's a clerk's miracle over there, so she did a good job.
I think we should get a pay raise for
I
myself.
second that motion.
Yeah. New business, Chair, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I mean,
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.